Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me and thanks for joining the session. And I'm curious what you think about OKRs before we start with the session with my talk. So, if you had one word that comes to mind when you think about OKRs, what would that be? And then we can check if the chat is working for everyone. So, you can write your that one word about OKRs in the chat. Let's see what happens. Orientation. Nice. Arbitrary alignment. And more people coming in. That's great. If you are wondering what we are doing is that one word that comes to mind when you think about OKRs. Misaligned. Alignment and right after misaligned. That's great. That's one of the topics that we will look into, definitely. Chaos. That's yeah, I hear you. All right. So what's one word that comes to your mind when you think about strategy? Misunderstood. Oh yeah, very often. Foresight, dynamic. Yeah, I like that. High level. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Necessary. Yeah. It's a surprise how many times, but it is neglected. So necessary definitely, but also misunderstood often. So, all right, thanks for joining the session again here. I'm asking another question now. When you read the title of the session, my claim, Don't Cascade OKRs, how does that resonate with you from 1 to 10 in a scale? One being doesn't resonate at all, and 10, yeah, that's it, that's what I was waiting for. Awesome, awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Borderline 11. I'm going to note that down. I hope I can get the transcript chat out of here. That's great. So, I'm, of course, people who know me, who follow me in LinkedIn already know that for years, I've been talking about not cascading OKRs and doing something else instead. And in the meanwhile, I mean, doing that all the time, but now I have a name for it also the last couple of years. I name it now the solar system, and that's what I want to introduce you to. And I'm looking forward to your feedback and your questions on that. So I'm going to share my screen now. So then I hope this will work again. Let's see.
I can
Everyone
see
can see
it.
my screen. Yeah, it's working. Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't cascade, OKRs build a solar system. That's the topic. And why I'm talking about this topic, because, well, I've been doing product management in agile transformations for a very long time now. And in the middle of that transformation bit, I started getting interested in the strategy part of the things. Why are we doing these things? What do we want to achieve with that? And all these questions really bothered me, so I became a nerd of those things. And officially, I can call myself now an OKR strategy and OKR nerd. And I started getting connected with the people to talk about it, to get my questions, to ask how other people's are doing. And then people started asking me to help them with their OKR implementations, which brought me to start my own business. And I became independent strategy execution coach and trainer. And as you see, in when I started it officially, then I named it OKR Solar System. I'm a co-author in a book called Digital Product Management, and in that book I wrote about the OKRs and about the OKR Solar System for the first time. And now this OKR solar system is evolving, and I'm writing a book, and now it's not called only OKR, but also solar in capital letters. which has a little bit holistic view of all the things, not only OKR. OKR is just a framework, but there are many dimensions that make a strategy execution successful. And I'm in the solar with capital letters, I'm talking about that. But today our focus will be the solar system, the OKR solar system itself. So just a reminder, just to make sure that everyone, I'm pretty sure that everyone has a brief basic knowledge about OKRs. Just one sentence about it. It's the OKRs are there to close the strategy execution gap, and it aligns the teams around shared outcomes, shared goals, and it does that by with frequent loops, frequent feedback loops, in order to learn, measure, and learn, and then adapt. So basically, OKR is there to help to establish a adaptive strategy execution system. The three letters, the OKRs is for objective. It is the what and why of the OKR set. It asks the question, what do we want to achieve? And the key results are the how do we know if we achieve it? So, and they are a measurable part of the OKR set. They belong together. They are not to be thought separately. One OKR set is a whole, is not, you can divide it. And what is getting forgotten a lot of times is because it's not also in the three letter. It's the initiative part. Just formulating, articulating our OKRs is not enough, right? These are the goals we want to achieve. There is also a big chunk of work to do in order to achieve these OKRs, and these are the initiatives. And they answer the question, how do we get there? How do we achieve our OKRs actually? That's basically it. Yeah. So if I read it right from your answers in the chat, you are already familiar with it and you are already working with it, and you might have a situation like this. You might have had a situation like this. So you write your OKRs, you're quite happy with them, how they are. You are even proud of them, yeah, and work enthusiastically on these OKRs. And then your manager comes and says, "Or are we on track? How does it go?" And then you say, "Well, yes, I'm working the whole time on it, but no, there is no result. I can share with you, and that's a pity, right? So I see lots of teams spending a lot of time in defining their OKRs just to bitterly see that they are not achieving those because there are many dependencies between the teams that have also their own OKRs, and they need to connect all these things and need to synchronize because our organizations look like this usually, right? So we have this cascading OKR system, we have this company, then each department has their own OKRs, and each department has many other sub-level teams and they have their own OKRs again. But this is not the way that we are working in actually, right? Our value creation, end-to-end value creation looks different. The org charts are basically never showing us how an organization is working, how an organization is creating value together. So this brings us to the problem with what I have been seeing in the last 8, 9 years, because the most general recommendation out there for OKRs is to cascade them, like how your org chart is, just cascade it. And it is also very good and easy way. It's a neat, clean way to see, oh, now everyone has their OKRs and they are all connected with each other. But the system in reality is not working. I had to experience it myself. Yeah. So what happens is if each team who actually needs each other work on separate OKRs, have their separate OKRs, then they spend a lot of time synchronizing, and we spend a lot of time in meetings to understand when can you deliver this so I can finish my OKR and so on. And nobody is happy about it because the feeling is like we are not doing the stuff that we should be doing. We are rather waiting. We are on a waiting mode. And this slows the organization down. And actually, we started with OKRs to get faster, to get better, to get more efficient in that. And it's not working. And maybe after a couple of cycles, maybe after a year, the company decides even to leave that framework because they say, okay, it's not working for us. Another problem I see is that if we work in the org charts again and have our OKRs there, we are not helping the work that has been done in silos. You know, that we are actually supporting, reinforcing these silos again by telling the people, you take care of your OKR. This is your OKR. Write it down, and that's it. And this is, of course, not very helpful, and this drains the motivation from the whole organization at the end. So what happens is if you copy the org charts, we have even more dependencies. These teams had dependencies anyways, and now they need to also synchronize their OKRs, and it feels like more dependencies at the end and a lot of administration work. So even if we learn to write really great outcome-oriented OKRs, it doesn't help if the system around it is not working, right? So um, we need to look into it holistically and say, okay, what does an OKR set actually make successful? The moment I read Christina Wodtke's, you see her in the picture, I had the pleasure to meet her a couple of years ago. And in her book, Radical Focus, is the best book you can read about OKRs, by the way, so please do it. She explains that cascading, not to cascade, but rather aligning OKRs, right? So not to cascade it from company, department, and the teams, but rather have something in the center and then see the team can have their own OKRs, the group maybe have other OKRs. And this picture resonated with me directly because I was doing already that sort of an OKR. I brought the people together and said, you are working in this OKR and you have the same goal. So why not get together and define together an OKR? You know, then you have a shared OKR and work towards that goal together. And then you are already spending your time in this topic. Why not fusion it? So this give me the inspiration to rethink about what a team actually is. And the fifth discipline, Peter Senge's book, is also a great book. I definitely recommend everyone to read it. Um, there's one claim he says the team is those who need one another to act. Right, and this is such a simple statement actually, but we forget it in our daily lives in work, and don't think about who our teams are actually. We think about our line managers, we think about our boxes in the org chart, and we name those people teams. Maybe these are a group of people, but not a team. A team should have a shared mission, a shared goal, actually. So if we talk about team OKRs, we should rethink what our teams are actually. So this brought me to the next step, and I started thinking about, okay, if we have a company strategy in place, if we have our business goals, and there are some, you know, we have our North Star, we have our annual OKRs, however the company is doing it, this is the center of it, and everything else should actually align around it, orbit around it. So if our business goal, our company strategy is the sun, then everything else around it would be the planets orbiting around that sun. Yeah. So I think of teams as a planet that is separated and divided in all these orbits, but still in the sphere of the sun orbiting. Let's give an example. So this is what Christina Wodtke says. You know, you can have your unit OKRs, you can have your team OKRs, as long as they are connected to the company strategy, company OKR right away. So not more than one level, right? Don't uh, put something in the middle. They can all right away connect their OKRs to the company strategy. I'm saying these team and unit OKRs are okay as long as this team can do their OKRs autonomously without any independency with other teams. And there are some topics that is possible to do that. So it's not that I'm saying that all OKRs needs to be cross-divisional, but rather ask the question, who do I need to work with in order to work on these goals that I'm having, or how can I contribute to these goals, and who do I need there? And then think about your team differently. So we have these existing units in the organizations that might have their own OKRs and work on them autonomously. But then again, we have all these product organizations, right? So we are here in the product close to product management, product development, an audience, and the the thing about product teams, what I see is they also jump into to product OKRs directly in the teams. Like, if we think about the product in around the customer journey, then we might have a team that takes care of awareness, checkout, whatsoever, and all these teams would have their own OKRs. Of course, they are hopefully cross-functional teams and can do that on their own. But what happens is these teams are working all on the same product actually. So if we don't give them an orientation about what our product strategy is and what our product OKRs is before jumping into the team level, then we have the difficulty that these product teams become have priority conflicts maybe and become their own silos again, right? So I remember in the agile transformation times, the most important thing for us all was to create cross-functional teams so we can work autonomously. That worked for a while till I realized these teams also need to work together. So we have kind of a team of teams setups here very often. And if this is the case, again, these teams need to be aligned around a product strategy and product OKR. And then we can talk about the product team OKRs and that they're all aligned with each other because all are contributing to the product strategy at the end, which is, of course, again, derived from the company strategy. Then you all will resonate with that. Probably in every organization, we also have some teams that are not directly customer facing, they are not directly working on customer outcomes, but rather working on APIs and platforms that enable services for other teams. And these enabler teams have also the difficulty. I have 5 stakeholders, I have 5 teams, and everyone wants something else. Whom should I serve? Who goes first? Here again, in order to make their life easier for enabler teams, we also need that alignment in the product strategy, product OKRs, and then the enabler team can see, okay, that's the direction we are going. Then I will work on my services accordingly. I will align my OKRs according to these product strategy and OKRs. So that's the product organization bit. Now, let's imagine we have a team in the product organization or another team maybe who just need each other to work on a specific topic. This was derived from the company strategy or product strategy, and we realize one team alone won't do it. We need more people working together to create that end-to-end value creation. Um, so why not leave that one product team OKR out of it and the other team OKRs out of it? And for that one cycle, for that iteration, these teams come together and write their OKRs together for that purpose. And so we create that cross team OKRs within the same unit, right? Within the same department, let's say. Now it's getting more exciting because maybe we might have a topic which is cross-unit. We might have marketing and sales working on a same goal actually, but from different perspectives. And if they do it separately, then again we have the problem with alignment, with synchronization, and maybe not doing the right things actually that has been expected. So why not get together and work work out what would be the next OKR we work together on, and then create the cross-unit OKRs on a unit level. Now, the last bit is even more exciting to me because that's the level where I operate quite often, is the strategic topics that derive directly from this company strategy, some initiatives, some maybe there's a new business model that they want to create, or maybe a new direction, a new market, whatsoever, right? New devices they want to launch. Here, most of the times, we are not talking about only one unit or department or team. We are talking most of the time at least 3 to 4 units who need to collaborate together in order to create that value we need in order to make progress in these strategic topics. What I see is if we don't do that, if we still stick to our department OKRs separately, even though they should be working on the same things, we are slowing the system down. These strategic initiatives don't progress well enough, and then we are again late for the market and so on. So why not getting these departments together, and not the whole department. I'm not talking about 100 people getting together in a room and defining an OKR set, obviously. I'm talking about the people who can contribute to that topic, who wants to contribute to that topic. We can send the invitation to the organization and say, this is the problem we want to solve. Who is interested working in that? We need these skills, these capabilities, and these competencies. Who can and who wants to, and bring these together to work on this goal for which we don't have an ownership, right? Because many teams are actually having interactions with this topic. So these teams, cross-unit teams, what you see on within the unit, between units, or even the whole company level, are temporary teams. So they are not getting together to work for the whole time. And I'm not interested in the hundreds restructuring project in the organization. So what I'm saying is just pragmatically, that's the topic, that's your strategy. Then let's look into who needs to work on that for now. Initially, we start with these temporary teams, and then we will see, because we will become smarter by working on these topics, and then we can re-team where necessary and build our next teams to work on the same topic, or to work on a topic that evolved out of the other OKRs that we worked on in the last cycle. So the permanent teams are still valuable and needed, like the product organization and maybe marketing, HR, learning and development, people in organization. All these units have their permanent organization teams, and they can still work also on their own OKRs. Of course, we need to be careful about when we start with these kind of setups that we don't have an overload of OKRs, because the marketing teams works on 5 other OKRs and then the cross-unit OKRs, and the people are all confused now. What are we doing? So my recommendation here is really distill it, filter it down, and maybe the people you take out of these units to work on a cross-unit topic have the focus only to work on that topic for now, and the others in the units are owning the OKRs that is created for the unit only, that can be worked out. So be careful about the capabilities and capacities in the organization, and don't overload the people, of course. So there are some checklists that I'm talking to the leadership and say, if you want to work on that, who do we need? What are the required resources? And then we form a team, and then clarify and get commitment from the team members saying, okay, this is now your focus for the next 3 to 4 months. And with this is now your team for now, for this cycle. And we are all focused working and making these OKRs happen. So as a summary of which kind of teams I showed you, is there are basically 3 types of team models. One is the already existing units, teams that we are having in our organizations that can work on their goals autonomously. Then we have these enabler teams that are not directly customer facing, but enabling the teams that are doing customer-facing OKRs, customer-facing work. And then we have these cross-unit shared mission teams that are temporarily getting together, virtual teams, to collaborate on shared outcomes. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to read all these OKRs here, but how can this look like in practice? Let's say the company strategy for now for us is to make market visibility, to become visible in the market, that our target group can find us everywhere they go. That's the company objective, company strategy. They focus on market visibility. Now, the marketing team can say, okay, I will work on digital environments and make sure that our target group finds us where they are in the digital environments. That's their focus. They can work on share of voice, social engagement rates. And this is something most probably the marketing team can do on their own because that's their domain, right? That they can do work on that pretty sure on the channels on their own. The product organization again can say, okay, I should be working on conversions because the company says we should get better in the trial conversions from trial to purchase rates. We should work on that. So the product team can say, okay, I'm going to focus on the conversion. That's our focus now for the next period. Then we have a checkout team, let's say. This team can also say, okay, if this is now our focus in the whole product, what is the conversion problems that I have in the checkout part and can work on these checkout problems, right? So they know their focus because the product or strategy and OKR gave them the orientation. Then we have a platform team who can also say conversion is our focus. Okay, let's check what the checkout team might need, what the other teams might need, and then make a synthesis of it and then decide on which services we want to work on to enable these teams to do their best job. Now, for me, it becomes very exciting, these yellow levels here. Because let's imagine that we have a store units, which we haven't had yet, maybe, right? Maybe we were an online e-commerce based product company, but now we want to discover all these store life, how that goes, and put some hotspots, discover some hotspots. This is not possible for sales only to do because you can imagine that you need marketing, a strong marketing brand awareness in these shops. So marketing and sales definitely needs to get together here and work together. Maybe this can take them 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. We need to see it, how it goes, how the long-term strategy looks like, and then get them together in temporary teams and start working. After a cycle, they can think, what have we learned? How do we want to carry on with this topic? And ask themselves, are we still the right setup or do we need other people? Do we need new skills? And then start reteaming and get into the next cycle, OKR cycle. And this is a long-term topic. It's not that, these things happen in 3 months and then you say goodbye to it. These are long-term investments that you think about, and that means even though we are talking about temporary teams, it is very likely that these teams will work quite for a long time together. Maybe not exactly in the 100% setup they started with, but a kind of a core team will always be there to bring the knowledge to the next cycle and then get new members into the team to bring fresh ideas and so on. The company level OKRs is also quite interesting. Let's imagine we want to work in retail and online, and we have digital environments. So we are talking about an omni-channel experience now. And here is also obvious that marketing, sales, and product definitely needs to collaborate on these topics to say, how does the experience, user experience, customer experience look like actually from the moment they see us in the social media to they come to the online store, online shop, and even go maybe come to us from the retail shop. How does that all work together? How does the customer journey look together, and how do we want to make it as seamless as possible in order to give the best experience to our customers? This is nothing that a product team can do alone, or marketing or sales. And if we separate their OKRs now, let's imagine this is the company strategy, embedded in the company strategy, having an omni-channel user experience. And each team, marketing, sales, and product, go and say, okay, I need to do now omni-channel stuff and do their OKRs. And then suddenly they realize, maybe 3 or 6 months later, that were not necessarily working on the same topics and the same tactics and same strategies. So why not waste time? Why waste time? And why not get together and right away define the mission, the long-term strategy, and work on short-term goals together. I'm going to show you very quickly what happens actually in such a company strategy cycle from 3 to 4 months, let's say, right? So basically, we have a company strategy and it shouldn't change every 2 weeks. So we have a long-term vision of all these things. We have midterm and long-term strategic outcomes that we want to achieve. And maybe this is for 12 to 18 months time period. So derived from this, the units, the teams can look into it and say, okay, what do I take out of it and work on it? And they translate this strategy, company strategy, into their measurable outcomes. Out of these topics, most probably from the company strategy or from the unit strategies, we will see topics that need cross-unit collaboration, identify those, bring the people together, form the OKR, the cross-unit teams, and start to work together. And don't worry about sticking to any timelines and quarter start and end timelines. Free the organization from these kind of deadlines, but rather go into what does the team need for a timeline and how can we start on these topics, and don't get stuck on the quarterly thinking. Once the team has started their work, obviously we are in an OKR mode, which means we will work on some solutions, experiment it, measure it, and learn it as quickly as possible. And after a cycle, we can then review what happened, what have we learned, and what do we make out of it for the next steps. And then you can refocus and align, re-team and align on the next goals and next outcomes. I'll tell you an example now, how I did it in a company. They produce home appliances, yeah, and that's a company from Turkey. And when they come to me, they were like, "We have this company strategy now. We have these 5 topics that we are interested in working, and we would like to do it with OKRs." I looked into it and said, okay, there are some interesting topics here. Let's start with a strategic theme out of it, and form a team for this, right? Because there were no dedicated teams who could work on these topics. So it was kind of a discovery phase for everyone. They didn't know what could work, what the solutions are. So it was quite exploratory. What we did is sending an invitation in the organization and say, these are the topics we want to work on. They chose 3 topics areas, and said, okay, these are the people we are looking for, the skills we are looking for. And then we built these interdisciplinary cross-level teams. I'm saying cross-level in this case because we had people from C-level, people from senior management, mid-management, on even operational teams. So all levels were included in an OKR team, which was really good because this way they could make really fast progress when it comes to decisions and budgets and all these questions. So with these early adopters, we started our first OKR cycle. And of course, the first OKR cycle for everyone is a learning cycle, right? So you can't be really innovative and creative and at the same time learning a very maybe complex system. And then plus working with other people who you never worked with. You maybe read their names in an email, but never worked together on a day-to-day basis. So these are many new things at the same time. So don't push the teams at that stage. And they were working on some low-hanging fruits at the beginning. But what was very useful is they started collecting data about their customers, about their target groups. So they had customer interviews in different levels, and they collected all this information, which was helpful for the next step, for the next cycle, because we reteamed. We asked the question, who else do we need now? Which other competencies do we need in this team? And had the reteaming phase. And the people who came to the team and the people who stayed in the team and with the previous knowledge and fresh knowledge together made a lot of different things. The innovation become really interesting. And you see this picture there. It's a short video I will show you now. Is from what they developed together. Let's listen to it. It's Turkish. You won't understand it, but don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
İstiyorum. Tarkan Bey, nedir bu projemiz? Valla projenin adı servis kafası. Neyin kafası? Servis kafası. Yani evet arkadaşlar.
Every time I see this and listen to this again, I'm getting the goosebumps because that was a magical moment, really. You heard the voices of the CEO of Vestel at that point, who took care of one specific division, and one of the team members. What they did is saying the target group were the contractors in the field who bring the products to the people, to their homes, but actually don't work for Vestel. Which means for Vestel, it's a huge problem because then they have this image problem if they are not acting professionally, and the people won't think about this is not Vestel employee. They will definitely think this is Vestel. I'm getting a Vestel product, and this is the person who represents Vestel. So it was for them strategically very important to create that loyalty with these people who are not actually working for Vestel directly. And what they thought is, after all these low-hanging fruits, giving them, some appreciations, awards, and stuff like that, they came up with the idea of a radio exclusively for these contractors when they are driving to the customers and bringing the wash machine or the fridge or whatsoever, that they can listen to the radio, which is telling stories from the field for these people only. So they gave them a voice, they gave them the possibility to connect with each other, and that was never seen before, and nobody thought about that as a solution. Nobody told them what to do, but they just digged into the problem, what they are having, and then started creating ideas until they found out what's working best. And that radio program was one of those things. So what happened afterwards is it became a highlight, of course, in the whole organization. And then we started suddenly getting lots of requests from other teams, can we also do this? We want to work with OKRs. Can Cansel help us there too? And so we started doing OKRs for different units, for business units. I worked for a fridge unit, for example, which I have never imagined to work for. And I was amazed about their creativity, how quickly they could test and experiment and get feedback from their customers in order to have results at the end of their OKR cycle. That was really amazing. I still have very fond memories of this collaboration with them. So what the feedback obviously is, finally we are working on topics that didn't have in a home, and now people can work together. We understand the other units now better because we understand their pains and where they get stuck, so we can support them. Very positive feedback, definitely. So if I want to recap what the OKR Solar System is about, it is org chart agnostic. The strategy is the main point that shapes the structures and not the org chart. It's telling you, dictating you how to do your strategy work. It should be the other way around. What I learned in this, especially with Weststyle, we had very different paces. Each team had different paces. Some of them could do some work in 3 months, some needed 6 months to get to the results. So we should also respect these phases and not let us dictate any calendar when to start and when to end any kind of strategy work. And of course, the most important part is that the people are willing to work together, listen to their colleagues, understand their pains, and then collaborate. And this needs to be rewarded because it's not self-explanatory. So this needs to get special attention if this is especially a culture we want to create in an organization. So my last statement here is if we have dynamic markets, we definitely need a dynamic organization that is dynamically reteaming according to the strategic needs of the company. And that's it from my side. I hope you have some questions. We still have time left. So before we get into the questions, I give you my QR code. That's of course, mandatory after each talk. So if you are interested, please scan the QR code. You will get links to my OKR guide to download it. I'm, as said, writing this a solar system book, so you might want to subscribe to newsletter, which I'm not doing right now. So you won't get any newsletters from me, even though you sign up for it. And I'm planning a masterclass soon in Germany. So if you are interested, DM me. We will talk about exactly how to make this work in an organization, to make strategy work and enable cross-functional, cross-divisional teams and still have a good strategy execution. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening and sticking till the end. And now I'm curious about your questions.
Well, I just want to hop in on behalf of everyone here and say thank you so much. That was such a great presentation. Does anybody have any questions that they want to throw out to Cansel?
Alex, great.
Thanks for the cool presentation. Disclaimer, I've been following you for quite some time.
Thank you.
And I'm on the Don't Cascade the OKRs from all the way from Trivago, my Trivago days, and also kind of helping other teams. My question is more on the high level, because usually my challenges have been I get to work with a team or company, right? Or I work with for example, even some of my previous companies, and they're like, let's do OKRs, and then I ask like, do we have a company strategy? And then crickets, or they say, well, we can just do yearly OKRs, right? And so you have it feels sometimes like there's a lot of stuffing at high level where we do need a vision and mission and a nice strategy somehow explained and narrated so that everyone gets it. So my open question to you is, how do you feel about at that level having also like, do you need company strategy and annual OKRs and company OKRs or do you have a preference for or have you experience for which artifacts at that level work without overstuffing?
Yeah, I'm not very fond of company OKRs, to be honest. Either annually or quarterly. Quarterly, definitely not, but annually I could still get buy-in, and that's okay, I can work it out. But what the company actually needs is a the strategic focus, not only the basic fundamental strategy, what is our product, who's our target group, and what's our market, and so on. These questions hopefully are covered already. What I'm doing is talking about the strategic focus for the next 12 to 18 months. At least initially, I always recommend to have that workshop with the C-level. And in this workshop, Alex, what I do is actually creating the measurable outcomes, but not for 3 months, but rather for long term, middle term. And maybe one of those are even a North Star metric, depending on what the company, how the maturity level and so on. This is the impact map that I create in this strategic focus workshop. And this is more or less actually giving the orientation to all other OKR teams. So, but I respect what's already there. So if the company tells me we started working with OKRs already, I have a lot of clients that way, that they've been working with OKRs for 3 to 4 years and then see, oh, it's not working. Can you help us to fix it? So if they already are accustomed to work with annual OKRs or company OKRs or whatsoever, I wouldn't force them to change it or to quit it, but rather see the context and see what's helpful here to change and do some small interventions and try to help them there actually without changing the whole system. So if I would start from the beginning, zero, start with me together, I would say we just need a strategic focus and basic strategic outcomes. And everything the other OKR teams are doing should be connected to these outcomes so we can see the development of those things. So basically, really an impact map from teamwork till the final KPIs, outcomes. And that would be my preparation, definitely.
Thanks, that helps. And love your view on the strategic
you.
outcomes, right, as focus. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question.
I mean, I have a question if nobody else has a question. Does anybody else have a question?
Maybe I can jump in with a question.
That would be great. Yeah. I'll wait.
Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. You were talking in the last slide, I think, about the different paces. In our implementation, that's not the case. We're having this all 3-4 months big cascading chaos of everyone aligning with everyone and 2-week chaos for nearly 1,000 people. So how does it work if you have different paces for different OKR sets?
Yeah. You need dedicated people who take care of the strategy process, right? So, and things that we need to work on a topic doesn't come just in a day. We already see these things coming, right? So it's not happening within a week and then you have, oh, we have a new strategy and let's do that now. So it's more or less a kind of an organically growing system. So if the team started their OKR journey in a cross unit or their own within their own unit, they are connected to long-term, let's say 12 to 18 months company strategy. So they already have a longer vision, which should not change every quarter and say, oh, what do we do now? What is new now, right? So jump from one topic to another. That shouldn't be the case. So they should be actually continuously working and improving and progressing in some strategic long-term topics. So this way, I don't think the quarterly OKR planning season is not necessary because the team will themselves realize, okay, in the next 3 months, we want to do that and see these results, and then we will reset and see how to move forward with that topic. So they don't need from a department or for a company, again, new information about now this quarter, your OKRs are this, right? So, and this is actually what makes it that chaotic because we are waiting for other levels to finish their OKRs so we can write in the team level our own OKRs. And this becomes obsolete if we work with a company strategy, strategic outcomes, and teams do whatever they do, connect to these outcomes, and then can decide on their own pace, say, okay, we have now a 2 month iteration because that's a very dynamic thing that we are trying here. Others might say, like my fridge team, yeah, they might say we will have a 6 month period because you don't develop a fridge in 2 weeks. So that's why I would take care of these things. And depending on how scaled the company is, it is of course good to have some specific checkpoints where you can have a review of this strategic outcomes, of the impact that the teams are contributing. But it doesn't mean that the planning season needs to be at the same time, because we are working on continuous stuff. So even if we have a quarterly business review or a strategy review, it doesn't necessarily mean that we also need to have a quarterly OKR planning season. So these are kind of separate things, I would say. I know it's difficult to explain it, but if we start at the right with the right thing, with the right intentions, then it becomes actually more organic.
Cool, thanks.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Susanna, I think you can go ahead now.
Well, I was going to ask if you find yourself entering a company. So this has happened to me in the past. I've entered a company and they've had a very sort of founder-led, top-down, function by function OKR view. How can you know, advocate for this type of view and bring them round? Because I think I obviously recognize all the problems, but it can be hard to get people to change, right? Particularly when founders are in that very direct, like, you know, team by team accountability mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I faced this challenge, of course, with the clients that already started with OKRs and now engage me to bring this fresh orientation, fresh side on it. I'm forgetting my words now. It's already too late for me. So this is currently, I'm supporting a client exactly that way. They started very strict cascading system. They have this, like Peter says, a chaotic planning season. Everyone gets crazy, and of course it is not easy to break the system down and then bring something new. So I'm telling that I'm kind of a guerrilla change manager there, you know, and I try to find possible touch points where I can intervene. Of course, I do that in conversation with the leadership, with the people who own this process, with the C-level and so on. And what we do is to figure out, and these topics are there. It's nothing new that they need to work cross-functionally, let's say, or you know, get together and have their own OKRs. So when I do the analysis work of their whole strategy and strategy process, then I mark these topics and say, I see an OKR set in marketing and I see an OKR set in sales. They are doing the same things. Why not combine them? And then I'm bringing some recommendations where we can start intervene with the shared OKR teams, and we have like one pilot, two pilots, depending on how ready the organization is, and then show the results. And the good thing is I'm always sure the results will be 3 times faster than any other team working on the same topic. So, and this is the result definitely. At the end of the quarter of the cycle, I can show the C-level, see, this team developed the product or launched the product or relaunched an old product within 3 months, which is 3 times faster than you did before in this organization. And this, of course, is then getting the attraction that it needs, the success stories, and then expand it, grow it organically. Never force the people to it. That's my basic principle on this. Always invite the people to try different things, try that out. And there are those people in the organization. There are those early adapters who are willing and who are fed up actually to work on their own silos and want to work with the other departments. Get those people together. And my role there is actually more or less just to enable this conversation.
Helpful, thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question.
Anyone else, or will we let Cansel go, given that she's starting to lose words?
I'm operating in non-native languages the whole day. So German is not native language to me, English not, and my brain is like smoking at the end of the day.
You've done a great job, Cansel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is really, really helpful.
Awesome. if there are any questions, any more need, just get connected and we'll talk about it.
All right. Well,
Appreciate
then
that.
thank you so much, Cansel. That was amazing. And thank you for everyone showing up and asking such good questions. And I'm looking forward to using that QR code.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening for this till this late hour. So I wish you successful implementation of OKRs.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.